Okay, so how about you give us a little intro with yourself and then like how you got into the position you're in of being in charge of Feral Carts Project and like why you're doing your advocacy. And I think that will bleed right into the landscape in Australia or what it was. And then that will
Mm.
turn into like what changed. And we'll go from there.
Okay. Yeah, so for me, I was in the Air Force, Australian Air Force for 16 years. I did 10 years as a avionics technician and multiple fighter jets. And that was my main focus. I worked on helicopters there for a section there, and uh, on the side, I was doing motorcycle instructing, which was a bit of a passion of mine. Then I took a year off, and I with leave without pay, and then I came back as a elect engineering officer. Excuse me. And yeah, then I came back and studied up, and then started working in projects with the Air Force, and then our high security environments in our headquarters. But yeah, throughout my career, I ended up having a few incidences which knocked me around a bit, a few near-death experiences and things like that. And yeah, it just took its toll, and I just noticed that I just wasn't functioning the way I used to. I just couldn't understand it, and I ended up being medically discharged, and then yeah, I was put through the whole antidepressants protocols and things like that, and tried everything. And so then I yeah found myself at the end of the road there, and hospitalized, and the suicidality and things like that, and yeah, struggling for answers myself, and then found my way. Was looking into this research, looking into some of the success with psychedelics, and then decided to to jump on a plane and head over to South America. And I thought, hey, I'll give this a go. Felt very much like my last hope. And so I went over just not knowing what to expect, not really did a little bit of research, but I didn't know what I was in for. Probably didn't prepare as well as I should have, and went over there. But and yeah, dropped in and went through an ayahuasca retreat over there, and yeah, just after the first sitting, I experienced a profound change. Like it was incredibly difficult, and just seemed to break through into places that I just felt like I couldn't reach through any other avenue, and cracked me open in ways I just wasn't expecting, and just was able to experience um, yeah, just break down a lot of walls, but then experience some really deep healing, which was incredibly difficult. But then when I woke up the next day, I noticed a shift straight away. I felt like some things had come online that had been offline for many years, that I found parts of myself that I thought were lost forever, and yeah, it was profound, that initial experience. And so that's when I started to think, hey, there's something in this. And I continued through the retreat, and I came back, and um, I didn't understand about integration. I just didn't have any support. I came back to, this was back in 2018. So I came back to, a landscape that wasn't very accepting. I came back to a lot of, Defense Force friends that were just not understanding what I'd been through. And then I was speaking about it, thinking, oh yeah, they'll be on board with this. But I got a lot of funny looks, and realized that yeah, this so I went through a bit of isolation coming back, and that was quite tough. Really. Um, and then I continued. I went back to Peru again and had another profound experience, and I realized it wasn't just a one shot, one kill. It was a panacea. I needed to keep going, and then I did more integration, more work around it, and really saw the effects when I did the work around it. And so then after those experiences, I decided to share my story when they were asking for people to share lived experience stories. So I shared my story when there was a bit of a movement going for this rescheduling here. So at this stage, there was no, our medical system didn't have MDMA or psilocybin in the medical system. It was deemed to have no therapeutic value. And I think it's Schedule 9 it was in our system, which is with our Therapeutic Goods Australia. So what happened is there was a bit of a movement there from psychiatrists, psychologists, from not-for-profits. And I wanted to share my story anonymously initially. And I thought, this has helped me for those veterans that have reached the end of the line. And so, I was really motivated, and I thought, okay, well, I'll share my story anonymously and then just hope that maybe if someone else finds their way, at the end of the line and the end of the road, end of hope, they may be inspired by that and just think, hey, there's more out there. And also it may help this change, this shift, to see the value in it medically in our local landscape. So, but what happened is I had this funny thing, and that happened when I went to sign off and send it. I just realized that if I was to remain anonymous, there was an element maybe there that I wasn't fully honoring the fact that, maybe I was holding a little bit of shame there around my own story, things like that. I didn't know what that was, and I just sat with it. And at the last second, I said, I'll put my name to it because I'll own that story. And it was one of many. So I just was hoping in some way it would blend in with the other inspirational stories that were there. And it did. But also, I think particularly resonated, and was asked to do some advocacy and asked to help be a lived experience member. So I started speaking in public after that, and doing a lot of media, a lot of national TV, radio, and things like that, and all sorts of papers and magazines and things, just to help this movement. So I just kept coming back to, hey, why am I doing this? And I'm doing this because there's a need, and I can't see many others at that time in the space that were doing the same thing. So just kept going with it, and I saw it was resonating. So I started speaking with our political system, with our veteran affairs, with our with the universities, with our therapists, with our psychologists, and then I wanted to help shift that stigma, and if I could do that, I was happy. But this there was just a big movement at the time to try and get this rescheduling happening, and there was many in the space that were for and against. But so that led on to the that rescheduling. So
that was not the
legalization, but the rescheduling, which then made it available for.
Was it just veterans, or was it for anyone with complex post-traumatic stress?
So that was across the board. That was for anybody.
Okay, cool. And that was what? That was 2023, or
yeah.
Okay.
So prior, there was a lot of advocacy. We were advocating for that change, and in 2023, that's when it actually happened. So we got it recognized for MDMA and psilocybin. Yeah, so it was only just for specific, so MDMA for treatment-resistant PTSD, and psilocybin for treatment-resistant psilocybin. And we can go into that a bit more later if you like. But that was a huge success, a huge win for us. And that sort of started the shift. And I kind of knew that, and just to keep this short, I knew that it was going to take a while to roll out. So that's where the need was still there. And I chose to work with or found Hero Carts Project Australia with a co-founder, Holly. And we decided, we'll collaborate with the Heroic Hearts Project US and the UK and Canada at the time. And yeah, we really loved what they were doing over there, and we thought, hey, let's do it here, and do what worked for us. Because Holly was a similar story where, yeah, we thought, let's get people access straight away, and while this landscape stands up in the funding, in the model, and everything, we can have that ready straight away. We can do that, from the moment we started. So, and that's how it led to Heroic Hearts Project Australia being formed, and Holly and myself, yeah, working that.
I guess other than the lived experience, was there something that you were saying repeated over and over again to get them to listen or change their lens?
So I think the way we approached it often was we had a clinician, we had a professional there, a health professional there, who's also done the research, who was also around the studies and can speak from that angle. So, I tried to stay within my bounds, and my bounds are, I'm not a clinician, and I'm not, a therapist. I have, studied some modalities myself, and I have awareness of it, but I just can't act in that capacity. So in that way, I've stayed within my lane a little bit but also, as the journey unfolded, I was speaking from, and the way I approached it was, hey, for me, this is my truth. And for me, it's changed my life. It's saved my life. And I also, I didn't want to, I knew there's a lot of barriers there. There's a lot of stigma there that it's just there. And I tried not to be too judgmental in that it was going to be a big leap for a lot of people. And I tried to just approach it as an invitation to an invitation to a different way of thinking, and that it may not be as far out of your I don't know, your model of thinking. Like, this can be done safely, this can be done in a really good way, and challenge all of those preconceptions that there may have been there around psychedelics. Challenge a lot of those sorts of things. And I suppose me showing up as a veteran, because naturally as a veteran, we've come through that system where we're very anti-drugs. We're very restricted with all of that. We're tested constantly, and we are, we kind of are just in naturally a picture of we're not associated with that, and for us to be, we come in a different way. I suppose the veteran voice comes in a slightly different way, because say if I was a civilian, there's a lot of, I could be tarred in different ways with different brushes. It's just so broad. But I suppose politicians, and the other thing is there's just such a need, and because we are such a at-risk population, and politically, wherever you sit, politically, I don't know any politicians that don't want to get behind veterans.
There was a question from the audience I'll ask right now too, because I think it's good. Were there any specific studies that you quoted or referred to when speaking to the government, or more or less what the people that you brought with you, I guess?
I think the main one, because there's a lot of similarities for us with the UK. We're in a lot of ways closer to the UK in maybe mindset and maybe structure. So there was the maps. I think it was done in the UK, but there was a few UK studies. I'm not the best with them at the moment, but the MAPS model seemed to be the one that was used mainly as the standard, and that's and then we also had some like Professor David Nutt came over and he spoke to our TGA, and we had people like Rick Doblin coming over and sort of doing advocacy here, and some amazing people like that. But there was multiple studies, because there's just so many studies coming out. We had like Rick Doblin's research assistant, I think she is, our main leader of research. She had very veteran specific subjects. So let's say one of them, I did a panel with the ex-chief of Defence Force here, Rick Doblin, and his lead researcher. And, she was quoting and showing amazing studies around PTSD and the remission rates. But what we think they seem most comfortable with was the MAPS model, when it was, psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy, that model where it's mainly psychotherapy with psychedelics to assist the psychotherapy. That model was the one that seemed to be the most comfortable because it fits in best with our current system in a way.
Okay.
From my, yeah.
With
that, okay, so
scheduled it, and then was everything like yay forever and ever? Everyone was happy, or then were there issues with the rollout, or how did it go from decriminalize or rescheduling to now, or up to the change, I guess?
Yeah. So it was actually they said no, and multiple times, and then there was a period where we could try and get it overturned, and also a lot of the public what do you call it? I might have it here somewhere. The public were able to, like, people were gathering all those stories, like a lot of not-for-profits, and were gathering stories and then submitting them to the TGA, and there was a lot, like, it was just gaining momentum. So each time they said no, I think there was a wave of more people. It just started growing exponentially, and then it was really a surprise actually that the TGA changed. I think most people thought they wouldn't reschedule it, but they did, and it was quite a surprise. It happened. Just wasn't expecting it, and yeah, it was a bit of a shock, but also I think that then it was a big. Then it became, okay, how are we going to roll this out? And that's when it really kicked a lot of our people into gear to think about this and start, it became reality quite quick. And then it was, okay, how do we roll this out? And the way, when they first approved it, it's this very limited approval. So, they said basically psychiatrists can be the only authorized prescriber. And so, yeah, they've opened that door. They've just cracked the door open in a very limited way. And then we've had to really start pulling apart what that means, how that's going to work, and how it's practically going to work, because you can't have a psychiatrist sit there for the whole time. So there's been a lot of work by a lot of the medical health professionals that have really tried to make this work, and also advocate with the TGA. Like, I'm part of a peak body called AMAP, and they do some great work trying to make it more accessible, because it is still quite limited, and also can be limited for people in rural settings, because they might not have access to a clinic that can support that particular model. So yeah, it's cracked open in a small way, and then it's this last 2 years you've seen it just unfold and start to form a picture of how it's going to be rolled out, because there's to become an authorized prescriber, they have to go through certain hoops and then they have to be approved. So that's taken a long time. There wasn't an actual authorized prescriber, I think, for a period of time. And that took a while to roll out. And there's been more and more slowly come through. So it hasn't just been this, rescheduling and all of a sudden it's just an open gate of applications. And, it was only recently at the start of this year that we got the first veteran through the psychedelic-assisted therapies using psilocybin. So, it's been a very slow unfolding.
Were they running like clinical trials as like their test beds or something, like test and adjusting, or was it just test and adjusting with like their mental capacity going back and forth? Hey, this is how we're gonna roll it out, and then it went back and forth, or was it actually getting people treatment, saying, oh, this is not working, let's try it this way, until finally the beginning of this year where they were like, okay, here's the plan?
Yeah, I think concurrently there's been, and there still is, research going on because, they've opened it in this narrow window of MDMA in this specific model. And depending on the state, it might be 2 dosing sessions, 3 dosing sessions. And then, and psilocybin the same. And I think the research is still gathering that local evidence to support, because there's still other studies around other medicines. So there's potential to open up to other medicines. I think DMT is being explored. I think Ibogaine a bit of a hot topic. I'm not sure how many studies are going on here, and then there's also studies around group therapy and things like that, because that as it opens up, I think that might be more cost effective and down the track. And then I think as it's growing, I think we're starting to evolve and realize, the authorized prescriber can be the one that holds the accountability and responsibility, but they don't need to be there for this whole time, because that'd just be ridiculously expensive and they'll probably waste of their time, of their expertise, when they can, be doing other things. And then actually bringing in, as it evolves, we're probably going to be able to bring in other practitioners that don't have to hold such a high qualification. It just opens it up, because usually it's 2 people that give the therapy. So it's
Really, like 2 practitioners with 1 patient?
Yeah.
And both of those practitioners need to be like psychiatrists, or what do they have to be qualified?
I'm still not quite fully over this. Obviously, it's not my.
No worries. No. I know it's a technical question.
Like psychologist or psychotherapist, and I think that the other one can be a nurse or something like that, a lower level qualification. But
still pretty intense. Good oversight, but at the same time, that makes sense. So yeah, it wasn't just like we rescheduled it and off you go. It's been in a very controlled setting and only in a certain way. And yes, it changed state to state somewhat, but it was not like hey, let's have MDMA clinics across Australia delivering it. It was very, very, very controlled. And now they're starting to like grow from it, or is it still very small, and narrow?
Yeah, I think I'd say it's still pretty narrow, and I maybe that's a good thing for you guys over there as well, because maybe there was a perception that as soon as we reschedule this, the floodgates will open, but it seems to be, it's been a still a slow rollout. It hasn't just opened the floodgates, and still, you've got that criteria of treatment resistant, and so that they have to have gone through a certain amount of treatments, they have to have tried certain things. Say for the veterans, that they have to have, if they want to get funded, they have to have tried psychotherapy. I think they have to have tried SSRIs, things like that. So for them to be actually treatment resistant, it's kind of like they have to show that they've had more traditional treatments before they get here. So even still, with the approval, it's still not this open
Yeah.
floodgate, like case by case, and I suppose as it unfolds, I think naturally that pathway will slowly be created, and then there may be more comfortability around it. It's just going to as expected. Yeah, there has to be an element of patience, I suppose, with it. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense, and it's good for people to hear that too, because things take time, and we don't want to mess this up, especially if they're giving it the thumbs up as it is. It's like, okay, let's keep it in between the lines here and like steer this to a point where they are comfortable with it, and then maybe it opens up the use of it.
One of the private health insurers approve it as well. Yeah, so we've had Veterans Affairs approve therapies, so they approve the funding model and approve funding, but also we've had a private, I think it's Medibank, have approved funding for the therapies as well. And I'm not sure what their criteria is, but
is that the
more recent, or is that thing? Or is that the like
October 31st or whatever?
October 31st
big news where
the big news
Australia is funding psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy? Is that the same thing, or you're saying before that?
A few before that, we had a private insurer come out and say, I think it's Medibank, come out and say that they will fund the therapy. So to answer, so that'd be open to civilians, that'd be open to first responders, and that's obviously more widely available outside the veteran category. It was a surprise, as we had because we've got an advisor, and I'd say he's an ambassador as well, and he's gotten into advocacy. His name's Luke Damon, so he's part of our Heroic Hearts project team, and he was one of the first to go through. He is the first veteran in Australia to go through therapy with psilocybin, and his story is quite amazing. He was special forces, and he was struggling. He couldn't work. His family life was struggling, and he came through the therapies and came out the other end early this year, and he credits it to saving his life and getting his life back on the board, and he's back. So he's back at work, he's back functioning, and he's even advocating alongside us and within the space, and he's done some incredible work. But he was funded sort of retrospectively because he knew that the funding model was coming online, but it was taking time, and he actually was one of the first to be sort of funded by the clinic, and they knew that the funding should be coming out soon. And then I think that's the way it worked for him. So he actually went through the protocol, went through the process before it was actually approved. And then so just recently, as you know, DVA came out with that the approval to fund, and I'm still learning around what that exactly means. But once again, it's not like the floodgates are open. There's a lot of fine print to that. There's a lot of as I was saying before, they have to be deemed treatment resistant, and they'll have their own criteria, and that's still being formulated. So it's not, we're still going to have to, once again, the decision's been made, and we're going to have to go through the rollout and build the vague and make sure it works. But it'd probably be case by case, I gather, very much so at the start.
How much is Heroic Hearts or yourself being engaged to help build any of this stuff out, or others like you?
So Holly and myself, Luke Damon is on board, Yeah, we're doing a lot of work in this local landscape. So we're kind of been recognized as a key stakeholder in a lot of the decisions when they're trying to formulate, because, you know, they're kind of getting working groups to come together with the universities and professionals to try and build out the guidelines for the therapies. So they've invited us and other key voices in the space, like our friends. We've got our friends at IPAT who are, they're the Indigenous voice in that as well. And so we come together and we're helping, inform these processes, and where we can just, have our lived experience input, but also from the veteran first responder angle as well. And so we've been working with a lot of key groups there with the guidelines, with and also there's companion guides and things like that we've kind of helped build out, which are, can be in GPs where they can hand them a brochure and it helps them all of those things that help.
That's so smart.
Yeah.
Because that is a huge issue.
And
Wow.
Yeah. We know we're doing a lot of conferences. I'm still just trying to be that veteran first responder voice and keep people updated, informed where we can. And then, also let them know what we're doing, which is, as the space is standing up locally, we're trying to fill that gap, because the gap is still there. It's unfolding, and we're really supportive of it, but it's not there yet. It's not up and running yet. In all honesty. Yeah.
I feel that was gonna be one of my questions, was like, how much need is there still for Heroic Hearts Project Australia? And obviously there's still a heavy need for it. Do you guys send people on retreats and stuff? Or are you just more of the, okay, you guys do? And has the government said anything to you guys about that? Like, oh, that's not safe, or what are you doing, kind of thing?
I'm sure there's some voices out there that may say that, but I've been really they've been really supportive, and I think they recognise that there is a gap there. It's not quite ready yet, and I think they see that we're trying to do it in the most responsible way. We're trying to stay informed. We're trying to be, as in line with and leverage, like we bring on. We've got some amazing clinicians and psychologists and researchers that we have on the team that really help us, just stay on board with the best practice. And and actually, we've just got Wei Feng, who's just jumped on the video. Hello, Wei Feng. He's actually part of our team, who's amazing researchers that say we relate with Anaya Science, and they do, incredible research retreats where they take veterans with PTSD over to the retreats. And we also, so we not only run our own retreats and take people to our Australian version of Heroic Hearts Project retreats, but we also, some people we might send through to the research retreats, or they may tack on to, one of the Heroic Hearts Project US retreats in the Netherlands or the UK. So we do collaborate with other retreats there. And one of them is a research retreat where the guys at Anaya, they take brain scans, they take stool samples, they take saliva samples, and they're trying to take all of these indicators of trauma within epigenetics within, and this isn't my bag, obviously, but I'll do my best, within epigenetics, within the indicators within the saliva and things like that. So they take all of these readings prior to the retreat, and then after the retreat, they do the same again. And they've obviously got a level which sort of meets the criteria of PTSD from all their data. And they've been having amazing results with people coming out of the retreat and no longer meeting the criteria for retreat for PTSD after the retreat. So, you know,
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing, and they've been producing all of these papers from that data, and it's mind blowing once you look at the results. What we do, is we're taking people over to retreats, and we've got a retreat coming up in Colombia, for instance. And what we do is we do all the preparation. We've got integration preparation coaches, and they've got they're either veterans or first responders, and we try to line everyone up so that to be most suitable. And so we help them prepare to get over there, do the vetting, make sure they're suitable, take them over there, and then take them through a retreat, and help them get over there, help them organize their flights and everything. And we have usually one or two Hero Hearts project facilitators there that will be there and go through the retreat with them and support them through that. And then when they get back, we do integration. So we do like 3 integration calls with them, and then you set up a chat where they can connect and stay connected and have a sense of community and have a safe place where they can talk about their experiences with, unlike what I experienced when I came back and sort of didn't have anyone to talk to. So we're running with that at the moment. And also, if there's research happening, studies with veterans here locally, we can refer there as well. And as clinics stand up, we're hoping to refer to clinics that are suitable. So that's where we're kind of fitting in at the moment.
Wow. I think that pretty much covers it. Is there something you want to talk about specific to heroic hearts, or was there something I was missing?
No, I just hope that as we, lay this pathway, that the veterans in Canada, US, and the UK, I just hope that maybe we can be the template. Maybe we can build that in the best possible way, highest integrity way, so that you'll be able to leverage it yourself. And yeah, obviously we'll be here. We've got some amazing people here if you do need anything. But yeah, I'm hoping we can roll this out and support you guys over there in Canada as well. And yeah, we're just wishing you the best for all those struggling over there. We really hope you see this change, and we're not celebrating fully yet. We're still rolling it out. It's still unfolding, but we are ahead in many ways. But let's hope that it speeds it up for you guys following.
Yeah, I think it's going to. I think it really is going to. And I'm thinking maybe we do like some sort of psychedelic summit in Ottawa where we bring in like world leaders, and we bring you and your team over to explain on a panel of like, how did it work for you guys? All right, my next project that my wife's like, she's probably watching the live like, you idiot, no more. Cool. All right. Well, I appreciate you taking the call. I definitely know I have an ally and a friend and a lot of resources down south. So I appreciate you taking the time with me today.
Yeah, thanks for the invite, and wishing you all the best.
Thanks. I'll make sure we'll do an update as stuff goes, and I'm a resource for you guys too, whatever you need. Cool.
Thanks.
I'm going to turn us off live, and then we can talk like normal people. Bye, everybody.